technically that person is just a hand, not one of the professional Zoom employees who actually knows the nitty-gritties of how Zoom operates and would not be able to advise me on the problem. So people are looking to hire at this point in time. They're not looking for the fact that you're a professional or you know the job. Right now, they're up to their neck in pressure. Work has moved online. And every organization that moved online that people rely on right now in this digital age, they are hard pressed for work, for people to work with them. So if you sit in your house and say there is no job or there is no money, it's probably because you're lazy and because you are not tuning yourself in line with what's happening currently in the global platform of the world. I'll just let Felix add this one.
Yes, look here, I completely agree with you. Things have changed. The times have changed. Of course, a number of us saw this coming, but we didn't expect that things are going to, happen so fast. Mm-hmm. So for one, for example, a lot of companies who can't scale whatever they're doing to go online, right? Those companies are pretty much just hibernated right now, Mm-hmm. Companies who have to depend on people to walk into their offices, for them to be able to service those customers. Those companies are just down right now. And the good thing is, like you said, there are a lot of other service providers that can still provide their services online in some way or the other. Exactly. Those are the companies that are, getting some kind of value during this period. For example, I have a friend who runs a meat delivery platform, right? Yeah. In the last 3 weeks, her sales have more than tripled. She can't handle the number of requests that she's getting. She has more demand than she even has supply for. So what she's working on right now is how do I take care of the demand for what the service, the solution that I'm offering my customers. So I agree with you. The future has come. This is supposed to be the future, but sadly, and maybe not so sadly, that future has come right here, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah, I think, and I believe that's an opportunity right there for people. So
absolutely,
people,
absolutely.
If you cannot think of a product that can run on the digital economy, right, on the digital delivery economy, you cannot come up with a product that can effectively fit this time we're in. It's fine.
Absolutely, yeah.
You now take up the responsibility to check for people who have products that are running and need staff, because those things are not going to run themselves. So. Especially in countries like Africa, where a lot of things still gets done manually, right? You can only the things that are not manual are basically the orders that you place online. But all of those other delivery process, processing the order, preparing the whole thing, packaging and everything has to be done by people. So for every person who has a product that functions online has an opportunity for people to get employment. So this is one big avenue for people to work. I mean, online work. People who have products that are working in the digital delivery economy. So these are places you can focus on. These are places you can look at and then cash in to make money now, when people are saying that they don't have money or there is no way to make money. They got kicked out of employment. Just like companies are folding up and shutting down, a whole lot of other organizations are booming. And exactly, someone just put a comment and said they need clearing platforms,
e-learning
platforms, and they are stranded, which is the truth. So a lot of companies that have products that people need. In our discussion on Saturday, Felix, we talked about the economies, right, in this pandemic season that will not get affected by the pandemic. No matter what you do, people will eat. So there has to be food. No matter what you do, what you say, what people complain about, people will spend money. One way
Absolutely.
or the other, people will spend money.
Yeah. Loito, help put what you're saying in context, right? Interestingly, someone published a report sometime last week and had said that the demand for food in the last couple of weeks has increased by somewhere around 0.7%. It may not look like a lot, but I'll tell you for a fact that's a lot. And that's because, yes, that's a lot. That's because the conventional thing for people who work, right, at least for an economic city like Lagos, is that you probably just have tea, coffee in the morning, do lunch, and then in the evening you have dinner, right? That's pretty much like 2 square meals and a bit of, things here and there. But today, everyone is working from home, right? What that means is people are back to the conventional, have breakfast, have lunch, and then have dinner. So there's increased demand for food. And I'll tell you for a fact, the price of farm produce, has increased in the last 3 weeks.
And
that's because, yes, that's because the demand is higher. Production has kind of tanked a little bit, not very significant, but there's some level of slight reduction in production of food. That's because distribution is a lot more tedious now, given the lockdown interstate and internationally. A lot of countries have shut down their borders with respect to food exports, because countries are thinking, if this thing goes beyond, what it is right now, and say in another 2 years, 3 years, we're still in this. Interestingly, there was a CNN report. Someone made a comment on CNN a couple of days ago and had kind of projected that if things go the way they're going right now in the US is not coming out of the lockdown till sometime in 2022. I'm not trying to be, the guy who is giving bad news, but the point is that countries are trying to be proactive and are locking down food exports. Food shouldn't go out of this country anymore. Let's keep the food for bad times, right? A lot of countries can't do so much in terms of food production anymore. They're depending on imports now for food. Netherlands is one. And I know of an agri-tech company in Nigeria that exports their produce to as far as the Netherlands. Increased demand for their produce has gone up. Which also means the price as well has gone up. So point is, there's an increased demand for certain kind of products during this period. Of course, there's also a decrease in terms of demand for certain other kind of products. So the question is, maybe one should be thinking about how do you identify? Someone had commented on this video saying that there's an increased demand for e-learning products. Yes, and that's true. A lot of schools have gone completely online. Schools are using Zoom platforms, Google Hangouts, dedicated e-learning channels of theirs. They're also depending on, e-learning platform providers to also provide them some sort of platform that provides the usual services that they would have provided if they were in school. So a lot is happening. Sometime last week, a friend had shared that he started something, which is very interesting, right? Most pharmacies operate offline. So which means that someone has to walk in, to buy whatever it is that the person is picking up from the store. So he saw an opportunity there, in the sense that right now, a lot of people won't be able to access hospitals. Interestingly, Lagos State just released some kind of communication identifying, I'm not sure what the number is again, but I know it's more than 13. More than 13 hospitals in Lagos, most of which are very key hospitals, popular hospitals, that have been shut down for somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks because either there's a staff or there's a patient that was identified with the COVID-19. Right. So the point here is that the demand for health services will remain there because people won't stop getting malaria just because they're now staying back at home. Right. So since that demand is there, and we're seeing there'll be less access, for people to get to pharmacies and health service delivery institutions. So what that means is that there is a gap now between the products, or whatever the services, and the people who need them. Absolutely. So what he told himself is, what if I set up some online store, some e-commerce platform where I onboard on-ground pharmacies who don't have any online distribution channels right now, and I provide them with access to market, right? And interestingly, as at the last time we spoke, sometime last week, he had already onboarded 5 pharmacies. He even had to invest in one of them so that he could ramp up their numbers as well. And he's already in the market. As of last week, I understand he was doing somewhere around 50 deliveries every day. And that's a lot for a start,
Amazing.
So yes.
And there are lots of cities. And this guy is probably just in Lagos. And if he
is in Lagos.
Every other city this is just talking about Nigeria, we could actually spread that in other countries, because pharmacies are a lot reluctant in Slovenia to accept walk-in. You have to stand outside and you have to have gaps, and it's almost summer, so the sun. So I mean, adopting that same format to a point where you can just place your order and then the product is delivered to your place, maybe in a day, in the frame of a day. That's another great idea right there. And
absolutely,
just to also talk about industries that people should look at to invest in. I believe this is also a very strategic time for Africa, Nigeria as a whole, when it comes to production, manufacturing. Just sitting down and thinking about the opportunities and the gap that will open, and just gradually moving us to post-COVID, since we want to try not to keep everybody online for so long. So post-COVID, right? When this whole lockdown eventually comes to an end, there is going to be a huge gap between what countries have, what they need, and what they don't have.
And what they can produce.
And
yeah,
what
absolutely.
They can't produce, exactly. And so there's going to be a strong demand for items. There's going to be a strong demand for already finished products or raw product. I believe this is a great time for people in Africa, people in Nigeria, to capitalize on this collaboration. I mean, what do you have? What do you have access to? And I believe that's an amazing thing that a platform like Requid is doing. So what do you have access to? And maybe the best way for you to put yourself in this picture, right, is to think, what do you do? What kind of service do you provide, right? What kind of business are you into? So to help your business prepare for post-lockdown is for you to create a list of producers of your items versus a list of customers, right? And a list of possible customers. So how many people in your state, how many people in country, right, will need this product by the year, let's say, if an appropriate analysis comes out, will need this product by the year 2021, for instance. So if I have this item, this is what I provide, right? Even if I don't have the raw product now, because most people were not ready for the pandemic. And so people are out of items. Who can produce this thing in my country? I mean, we have Abba. Just thinking about the fact that you can go to Abba market in the morning and come out with your already finished product by evening is the way my mind is calculating money and seeing dollars everywhere.
So you have to be careful how you see dollars.
Just think, right? There are
I completely understand. Yeah,
there are people who will need finished products. Let's say, right, based on what give or take situation, the pandemic will end in 2021. Let's say 2021. Now countries are going to open their borders, right, and need products. they're going to need people to ship as fast as possible. It takes shorter to ship from Africa than it is to ship from Asia to Europe. I mean, people can do the math and check it. So
Okay.
just imagine aligning what's needed right now. What will people need in 2021 as countries, as organizations, right? And what can you provide? And who can supply what you need to provide? It's not even a bad idea to take it a step further and make arrangements with shipment companies in view of when this whole thing will happen, will open up, and then all of these business opportunities. I mean, this is just me. This is exactly what I sat down and I thought about, and I'm like, okay, post-COVID.
Okay. Okay.
There is going to be lots of gaps, lots of vacancies, lots of people looking for products, right? I believe what you can do to prepare for post-COVID is build a list. What do you do? What do you have, right? And then who are the possible producers of your items? Who are the possible customers, not just in your local area, but on the international platform, because the whole world is suffering from the pandemic. I don't know if you have something to add, Felix.
Okay, so thank you, Louis. I agree with you. There are a lot of opportunities that are going to come out post-COVID, but I'm pretty much a very short-term guy, to be honest. I like to have multiple short-term plans, right? So I'll take it from what are the opportunities right now.
Yep.
So the question is actually very simple. So right now, what are the things that I need that I can't easily get? If I have the guy that can provide me access to those things, you're in business.
Yep.
Yeah. So okay. So I think probably because I'm a food advocate, yeah, I talk a lot about food. Good thing is, sometime last week, CBN released the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria released the document, kind of stipulating where their focus, will be going to during the COVID period and post-COVID period. And four things were identified. For me, the key things, like you have also said, is there will be a lot of attention being driven towards local manufacturing.
Yep.
Right. As of today, there are a lot of loans just flying around, attacking that sector, providing people with access to funds to produce stuff. I know a couple of guys who have already tapped into that and are producing, for example, what we need right now, the face mask, the nose mask. People are already producing that in quite some very good scale. And of course, that's kind of short term, because I'm sure post-COVID, we might not be needing those products anymore. But of course, my point is, so a sector that is getting a lot of attention from the central bank right now, one is local manufacturing. The second is food production and distribution.
Yeah.
Right. Why? The reason is very simple. Whether you're in a pandemic, whether you're in a recession, because some people are thinking that post-COVID there might be a recession. I wouldn't want to share my thoughts on this platform on that. But the point is, whether we're going to have a recession, whether we're in a pandemic, or whatever the situation is, at every point in time, people always need food. So there will be a lot of investment in agriculture. I think someone already stated that in the comment section.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of investment going into agriculture. There'll be a lot of investment going into food processing, food storage, food distribution. So the question would be, absolutely. The question would be, how do you position yourself right now? Because there are players already there, but our demand for food, our local production can't cater for that demand. The bulk of what we eat is still being, imported from outside the country. And the government is, of course, many of us think that the government is not a very, we don't keep to our plans and all that. But I can tell you for a fact that the investment going into agriculture is a lot. So maybe the question you should be asking yourself is, what exactly can I do to play in that space? One thing you can do, I can tell you that for free right now, is if you get into food distribution right now, the demand is massive. A lot of people are producing food. Okay, so let me put this in context. So on what we do with Liquid is we aggregate crowd-funded products, the likes of Farm Crowd, the Tribe Agri, Agro Partnerships, on a platform so that people can invest in all of these products.
Mm-hmm.
But so in last week, we know of two agri businesses that are having the challenge of distributing their farm produce. Why? Because the off-takers, that's the companies who buy off the produce from them, some of these companies are currently temporarily out of business. A lot of fast food restaurants are out of business because their business model dependent on people walking into, sitting and eat, right? So businesses, agri-businesses that dependent on this kind of off-takers are currently having a challenge with getting their produce, into the hands of the final consumer, right? So what many of them are doing right now is to try and see how they can scale that, to the retail market. How do I get my finished produce now to individuals as against having institutional off-takers? And if you were that guy that could provide them access to markets by providing some kind of distribution channel, that opportunity, I can tell you for free, is absolutely. So yes, a lot of opportunities will come. What I also see is post-COVID, especially if it lasts, much longer than we are seeing right now, people would adjust within that period to this new normal.
Yeah.
So the new normal right now is education is being distributed online. E-commerce is being, yes, commerce is going completely online. Practically any form of commerce is happening, fully online right now. So what will happen post-COVID is people will get used to, because before now, the traditional commerce thing is, if I needed to get a new shirt, I want to pick up a new shoe, I'd likely not go on an e-commerce platform, right? I might go on an e-commerce platform to check out the price, do my window shopping online, but then a lot of Nigerians still have that trust, issue. Would want to walk into a physical shop and pick up that item, right? But post-COVID, that whole dynamics will change. Things will happen that will, absolutely. So the demand for, yes, I'm telling you, the demand for e-commerce products would increase. And if that does happen, what that means is demand for logistics will increase as well. Because now you have a lot of people selling on Instagram, selling on some websites, blah, 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 and would need these items delivered to people where they are. And I can tell you for free today, the logistics business in Nigeria still requires a lot of work. Right? So if you are that company that is going to provide the kind of value that the vendor requires, that the customer needs, you are in business. So maybe what we should be looking at right now, in preparing, like you're saying, preparing for post-COVID, should be to look at what are the things that have changed.
Yep.
So what says today that education cannot happen completely online? I can tell you also that, okay, so I've also been in EdTech for a bit, and I know that in the last couple of years, we're beginning to see a bit of shifts. Parents are beginning to consider homeschooling. Yep. It's not a thing, it's not so much of a thing yet, but the numbers are increasing gradually, right? So I've seen a number of, people's posts online where parents are beginning to support their children with learning and all of that. Parents are getting more involved in the learning process, which was a thing before, long before now. But, what came into the picture, parents are busier with other things aside, parenting. So post-COVID, I see a situation where parents are would begin to consider, e-learning platforms, maybe a mix of homeschooling, a mix of e-learning, and all of that. I see probably some schools even considering the full-blown e-model. Yes, absolutely. So things that have changed now, post-COVID, might remain that way.
Yeah.
And if they remain that way, yes, a lot of support will be required here and there. People will need technology companies to build them platforms that would help them do this and all that.
I totally agree with that. And I'll just add that this whole post-COVID economy, to add about work, right? So I was looking at the statistics yesterday, and on there, they found out that 74% of COOs are willing to keep their current workforce, 24% of their current workforce online. So even if COVID ends, they're not going to change 24%
The model, yeah.
from working
It's
on.
way cheaper for them, actually.
Exactly. And this is with the possibility of increasing. This is like a quarter of COOs, right? And this is with the possibility of increasing that percentage. So the whole how we view life, work life, is also going to change. It's amazing how
I agree with you completely.
quickly adjusted, right? So everybody gets a notification, work from home. Everyone is pretty much effective at working from home. You do the same stuff you would do from the office at home. You have your targets, you have your KPIs, you have your meetings, and you can meet up with everything you plan on doing. And then CEOs, COOs, they're all seeing that this is actually working, and it's cheaper because they technically will not need an office space if people eventually adjust to working from home. And I think I saw another statistic that actually said they're willing to move work format from 100%, which is 9 to 5, break it into fragments and have people work so that working from home does not take your whole time. You get to work in bits and in fragments. And all of these statistics just goes to show that the whole definition of how we perceive work and how we view work is going to change. I believe one of the most amazing thing for me, right, is how people all over the world effectively adapted, right, to social distancing and to digital delivery. That's a most amazing discovery for me, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe we have said so much tonight, and I don't think anybody dropped any questions, but just in case you have questions, contributions, these videos will be posted online. So feel free to maybe go through again and ask your questions. And Felix and myself are connected on both Facebook and Instagram. So we will see your questions and respond to them. And who knows, maybe your question might just spur up another discussion in another conversation. Felix has one conversation online tomorrow on Twitter, so feel free to join and learn. I mean, the best thing on top of everything we have discussed right now, one of the best things you can do for yourself in this period is to gather information and then make decisions based on the information you receive. So this is it. Felix, you have something to say before we go?
I think these conversations are actually ongoing conversations. They wouldn't end. Every day at work, we're still asking ourselves, with respect to this, paradigm shift, what are the things we should be looking at? What are the threats to our business? What opportunities are out there that we can, take advantage of? What changes should we make internally? How best should we? What kind of problems are our customers facing right now? What kind of solutions do we provide for them? So these are ongoing conversations, and I'd like to push people to keep asking questions like that. How does this COVID, how does this whole thing happen right now? How does it affect me personally? How does it also, what threats do I see, in the future? And I tell people, this is a period for you to protect your job. You need to stay relevant.
Yep.
You need to reskill. You should reskill, right? Because yeah, absolutely. Because right now, a lot of companies have found, great excuse to lay off staff for whatever reason that is, though. Companies are also saying that some roles may not be so relevant right now, given the kind of the structure of what that role is, designed for and all that. So this is the best time for you to reskill. If you need to reskill, protect your sources of income. I'll say that again.
Protect the sources of income. I think you got stuck. The network. Yeah. Just say that again. You hung for a bit, Felix.
Oh, okay. So I was saying thank you for this conversation, but they are ongoing conversations. Never end.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you make really great decisions in this period, and wish you a great evening. And looking forward to hearing that you guys are making money in this COVID season.
All right. Have a good evening.
Bye. Bye.